No sports topic is out of bounds. You found the MN Sports Blitz. Along with former Minnesota Vikings linebacker Chad Greenway, here's Joel Niemeyer.
And good day. Welcome back to another edition of the Blitz here, the MN Scores Blitz. I'm Joel. That is former Minnesota Viking linebacker Chad Greenway. Good day to you, sir.
Hey, good day. Thanks for having me on.
And boy, we're just kind of chatting a little bit here. High school regular seasons. I mean, it's been one full regular season now for the MN Scores app, and I would guess it's getting stronger as the season goes on here.
Yeah, it's amazing when you see our spikes on Fridays and on some Saturdays, and now in this case this week, Wednesday, Thursdays, as we lead up to this last week and getting ready for playoffs next week. It's been unbelievable. The amount of people that have reached out positively to us, just thanking us for the app and how we're doing it. We're trying to, really cater this to the high school, performer, student, grandparent, administrator, whatever it could be. And we've had a lot of fun doing it. It's been a fun football season, a fun volleyball season for us in our first year in Minnesota. Not without glitches, of course, but for the most part, we've built a really strong team that is going really, really well. So we're enjoying it.
Now, from a competition standpoint, the playoff time, I would guess whether it was the Vikings or Iowa or your high schools, whenever playoffs come around, that's got to be a fun time for players.
Oh, this is the best time of year. And I think it's actually, in the way I look at the app, it's probably the most important time of year for football anyway, to look at the app and be using it, because you're looking at your results, you're looking at your your game that you win or lose, and then how it's going to affect rankings and standings and how every other game is going as well. So it's a very fun time to have something that you can have at your fingertips. But as far as an athlete goes, this is the time of year that you love. You love the competition. You love playing these rivalry games leading up to the sections and state championships, and just such a fun time of year.
Do you get out to any games, or is your schedule a little bit too busy yet that you don't maybe see as many high school events as you'd like to?
Well, I stream a game almost every Friday for sure. I've been to some Province Academy games. I went home to South Dakota to watch my nephews play a few times. So I've been to a Wayzata game. So I've definitely gotten out and seen some games, and it's been a lot of fun. As mentioned, my kids' schedules can conflict sometimes, but the reality is there's nothing better than being in person at a high school football game when it's probably a little bit colder than you'd like it to be, and the wind's blowing a little bit harder than you'd like it to be, but the football is always better than you expect it to be. So I'm hoping to get out tonight to a game, and then another one tomorrow. So I'm hoping to see a lot of high school football this next week.
What do you think the key to winning in Minnesota in the fall here for high school football? What do you think the key is?
Well, you can always talk weather, right? I don't care what level you're playing, and that's, the Vikings playing indoors, but with the Gophers playing outside, weather always plays a factor, and a massive factor to that. So, I think you got to take care of the football. I think, I actually spoke to the Province Academy football team yesterday as they have a big game against, is it SMB? They have a big one, and a lot of times in these big games, it's less about the physical and more about the mental. Are you able to focus, dial in, prepare, and plan, and then go execute? I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to big games like this.
Let's move over. You mentioned the Gophers, and somehow, even after, yes, it was just one bad loss a few weeks ago, but somehow the Gophers are back in the Big Ten chase here for their division after a tough loss by your club, Iowa. Here, just talk about the Big Ten, kind of fruit basket upset last weekend.
Yeah, obviously my Hawkeyes took one on the chin last week, and you got to give credit to Purdue, man. We just didn't show up to play, and Purdue had a great plan, and that's Big Ten football. You got to show up every week. Disappointing that the Hawks take a loss. Obviously, when you're a fan and a former player of the Hawks, you want them to win everything. But that's when you play in the Big Ten, it is a challenge every week. And now you look at it and say, like you said, fruit basket upset. Now it's like, okay, now we have a battle in our hands. Purdue, Minnesota, Iowa right now. I think Minnesota is the only one that controls their own destiny, if I have that right. After beating Purdue and then obviously get a chance to play us yet. So, going to be an interesting run, as it always is in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten West always takes at least in media's eyes takes a back seat to the East. I just want to see this West get a couple wins here in a row. Let's go. Whoever comes out of the West, let's go win a title and get to the big playoff.
Talk about the Gophers here, because looking from the outside into the program, they're kind of winning ugly. They don't look super impressive. but they're winning. And in the end of the day, that's the name of the game, is to win the game.
Well, at the end of the day, it's everything. You liken it to NFL football. Like, nobody cares how the Vikings win; they just want to see them win. Nobody cares how the Gophers win; they just want to see them win. It doesn't have to be pretty. I mean, you look at my Hawkeyes. They win ugly for 20+ years. I mean, under Coach Ferentz, it's just the way you do it, and it's okay to be that way. They have a good quarterback, they have a good running game. I love the offensive line the Gophers have this year. I think it's really strong. Obviously losing Ibrahim was a massive loss because that kid is an absolute talent. But the running back by committee has worked for them, and they've done good. I think they can continue to improve. So obviously, this is a Hawkeye talking, but following the local team is always fun too. And the Gophers certainly have everything in front of them that they want to do.
Let's move over briefly to the Vikings because they are on their bye week. And for you as a former player, did you like the bye week, or are you one that you would just rather let's just get these 16, 17 games over with?
No, I always like the bye week. I think every player likes one. Especially now the rules are a little better, where the coaches can't grind on you for 4 or 5 days with the extra practices. You get a little time off, get a time away from the game to kind of prepare for the rest of the season. And I know in Iowa's case this week, it couldn't have come at a better time. Kind of double down. Know you have the entire second half of your schedule with literally everything in front of you, right? You beat the Gophers and get Purdue to take a loss. You're right back in that Big Ten West championship, representing the Big Ten West in the championship game, and it's nice to have a bye at this time. Vikings, same way, right? You get a bye, and it's weird. My teams have buys the same weekend. That's kind of weird. What am I going to watch this weekend? I just thought about that. But the Vikings, I mean, you look what they've done, right? You look at a 1-2 football team that everybody was like, oh boy, here we go. 1-3 football team, oh boy, here we go. Now you sit here 500 saying, well, we can do whatever we want. It's just funny how when you battle back and win these tight games, get to 500, all of a sudden the world flips on its head and you have a chance.
Looking into I'll say the second half, even though it's a little less than that, but after the bye week, the Vikings have some really tough games, some really tough football teams. What do they need to do to keep this good momentum and winning ugly, keep that going?
Well, as always, stay healthy and get healthy. I think there are two things. Love that Darisaw has come in and gotten some good reps. Love that they got a little more depth there. Obviously that's going to be massive. I mean, I would say this. I mean, you keep Kirk Cousins playing like this, we can do a lot of things. So, keep him upright, protect him, find ways to keep him on his feet, making these throws. I mean, him at the end of game situations this year, if you look back, even with the losses we've taken on a missed field goal, like Kirk's been there and he's put us in the best spot possible. It's been amazing to see him play in that last 2 minutes. It's almost like we're getting used to this, him just going to come in and make a play. Well, he's done all that and we're 500. So now we got to figure out a way to clean things up and now go on a run and go get 2, 3, 4 in a row or go 3-1 in our next 4 and really kind of position ourselves that we can compete for not only our division but for the playoffs and on.
Any concerns about the inconsistency? Because it's been, at times in different drives, at different points of the game, it looks like the Vikings can be the best team in the NFL, and then in other drives, it looks like we not very good. So, is there any concerns on the inconsistency side?
Yeah, I think that's just who you play too. I mean, the parity you play against every week, I think, is a challenge. So it's not always going to be where you can come out possession by possession and drive by drive and always be your best. It's just these teams are so good. These players are so good, and they get paid and they make plays. So, you can't get caught up in some of the inconsistencies, but at the same time, you do want to come out and expect the same things to be very good for you week in and week out, and then work through some of the weaknesses that you may have. So, I think it's a point well taken, but at the same point, I think it's something that you're going to see in the league like that.
How big is the loss of Patrick Peterson? Hopefully it's minimal time, 3-4 weeks, but that is one of your better defensive players right now.
Well, I think the one player defensively you look at and say, man, we really can't lose this guy. Because we've obviously had some issues in the back end early on. You're starting to play better defensively. You're playing good offensively. Then you lose a guy like him. It does not sound like it's out for the year. They haven't come out and said that, have they?
I don't believe so. No.
Yeah, so I think their plan is to maybe put him on the short-term IR. Can you battle your way through? So again, you gain a week with having the bye here, and then you can hopefully get him back, and lose one less game. But the reality is we got to have people step up. And that's just the nature of the beast in the NFL is next man in. Can you find a way to get the job done? I truly believe that we can get that done, and I think we have the players to do it. I think Zimmer has the ability to game plan around that. But guys are going to be out of position in some cases, and guys are going to have to make plays. And I think it's really important that we have a great pass rush in these next 3 weeks.
Before we go, I want to take a step outside the world of football here as the Minnesota Wild and Minnesota Timberwolves season has begun. Start off with the Wild here briefly. You were a veteran on teams before. When you get turnover like the Wild did, they got rid of a lot of veterans here the last 18 months. How does that affect locker room leadership?
Well, it can really be different, right? I think it can really challenge everybody's mentality in the locker room. They're kind of their lot in life, I guess would be the best way to put it. I think you have almost a flip of leadership, which can be a great thing, because if you have two vets like Parisi and Suter who have been there for so long and have these big deals, who for all intents and purposes are very good players, but also very very good leaders, they can be really hard to replace. But what you get is you can get a sense of a new, younger vibe, a younger leadership group that can step up, and maybe you have guys that are fighting for that position too, to say, hey, I want to lead this team. I want to be that guy that people are looking to, and you can really have folks step up. You love that the energy they brought here early on in the year. I think you have a young, hungry team that's out there ready to fight. Clearly, we saw that last night, and then you come back and you get a win last night at home, and that place was just electric. And obviously, we're all hoping that the T-Wolves can turn things around, but it's always better when the hockey team in Minnesota is doing well.
It certainly is. The Wild 3-0 as of our chat right here. Does that fast start? I mean, granted, football is a 16-game season, so 3-0 maybe means more in football than it does in hockey. But can that fast start build on things? Can that get you some momentum?
Absolutely. I think you want to carry it, right? The biggest thing with anything I talk about when you play a lot of games, whether it be baseball and Major League Baseball, or you talk about hockey, is you can't let one loss become two or two become three. You have to kind of get on these where you're going to win two and lose one, or win three and lose one, and get on these streaks of really playing consistent. And that kind of leads into what you asked about with the Vikings, is can we become more consistent? Well, what you got to do is you just got to remove those bad losses and those bad plays. And I think in the hockey world, right, it's don't make those bad mistakes in the back end that give people free opportunities, because everybody you play is really, really good. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun year. There's a lot of excitement, of course. When you start 3-0, the key is how long can you keep that going, where that becomes the team you are.
Lastly, Minnesota Timberwolves season begins here actually tonight as we're recording here. Can it be tough on players, because the Timberwolves for years, for as long as forever almost, it seems like the Timberwolves have been constantly rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding. Can that be tough on players to be in that constant rebuilding mode?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I went through a phase of that in the middle of my career after that 09 and then the 2010 Brett Favre season, where you have a couple of years of just really bad football and bad teams, and you got to try to find a way individually to work through that. And you never want to become an athlete that's all about themselves. But I think in a time for you to survive that in your career, you need to kind of intrinsically look and say, okay, how do I improve and make this a little bit about myself? Without making it all about you. It's still a team sport. But you have these individuals who have gone through some really tough years. You look at Cat now, who's created a lot of his own drama in some cases, been through some really hard and challenging times with the loss of his mother, and other things, that you want to put a team around this guy that can help him win, right? And then hopefully he's going to help himself by continuing to improve as well, and that's obviously what we're all asking for.
You mentioned Cat. Does a veteran like that, somebody of that nature, need to step up and lead the team if they're going to take that next step?
Man, I think so. I think we all hope that. I think that's what we need. It's what we're all been waiting for. Let's hope it happens this year.
Sounds good. We'll chat again sometime, and we'll keep our eye on MN Scores. We thank them for bringing us the interview here today.
You bet. Yeah, jump on. If you haven't had the app yet, it's free to go download it at any of your app stores. Go check it out and follow along with the postseason volleyball, postseason football, which starts tonight. So check it out.
Sounds good. That's Chad Greenway. I'm Joel Niemeyer on the MN Scores Blitz.
The MN Sports Blitz has been produced by KDUZ, KARP, KGLB, and the Ingstad, Minnesota Radio Network. Complete episodes are available on our website and on YouTube.